Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Pack Podcast. We are here with our very special guest, Alex Arsenal. But I am Case. I am with Michael, Carl, Forrest. And like I said, we're with Alex Arsenal, the man. How are you today?
I'm feeling bulletproof, but that's always my answer when people ask me. That's my thing. I'm bulletproof Alex Arsenal. You can't just be that sometimes. You got to be that all the time. So I'm feeling bulletproof.
As you should, and it's fantastic to hear. So most of the time, we always start the episodes like this. What got you into professional wrestling?
Oh, man. I grew up in the Monday Night Wars era. That's when I was just old enough to start to figure out what was going on. To be, I was 4 or 5, right at the peak of that. My brothers were a little bit older than me, so they were watching. They were big fans. And we had to, when we wanted to watch WWE, we had to sneak over to our friend's house because that was the not PG show at the time. So it was a big, it was like a sneaking into like a speakeasy thing during Prohibition. All the kids would meet up. And so that's a bright memory for me in my life. It was a very big part of my early childhood. And as I got a little older, I realized I was pretty darn good at sports, but there wasn't like one sport sticking out to me. And I really, really liked attention, and I really, really liked theater, and I liked improv, and I liked all these other things I was doing too. And I was like, well, man, I got to pick something. Too bad there's not something that combines all that. And then I realized, wait a second, hold up. Pro wrestling's a thing. That's a pretty good combination of all those things I just said. So around that age when most kids start, giving up on the rock star dream and deciding if they're going to be an accountant or a plumber or whatever it is, I was like, I'm not good at any of that stuff. So I can't do math, can't do science, can't do English. I'm really good at recess. That's like my number one class. So what's
Recess
the closest
and gym?
Yes, sir. So number one thing came back to pro wrestling. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to go for it. And I've been working on, my fitness, been working on bodybuilding, been working on being a performer, all these things for years. And finally I moved to San Antonio a few years ago and started training. I was a pro wrestler, just like any other trade. You go to school, you get good at it, right? You pay your dues. And we're about 4 years in now, and I'd say things are going pretty good.
Absolutely. And man, just for being 4 years in, I don't mean to kiss up to the guest, but absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's, it seems like everybody says stuff like that. It's all relative, right? We all excel and progress at different rates. For me, I'm very fortunate. I'm surrounded by a lot of people that have wanted to help me and push me. And that's been a big part, is that support group, right? People around you. I think there's a lot of untapped potential out there, probably in every field, right? Where you just have people who got dealt a bad card. Personally, I've just had a lot of good luck. I had a lot of good connections, a lot of good coaches, a lot of good peers that have really pushed me. So yeah, I will accept that compliment. I think I'm very proud of myself thus far for being just 4 years in. Hopefully that stays true no matter how many years in I'm in.
Oh, we can always hope. Carl, what you thinking?
Yeah, Alex, talking about your training 4 years, who was your trainer? Where did you actually train at? And who was your trainer back then?
Oh man. So in 4 years, I got a long list, which I'm proud of too. It's just like any other industry, you try and diversify your portfolio, diversify your abilities. So I've trained at the Texas Wrestling Academy. I trained under Pantera in Mexico City. I've trained with Spartan out at the 5-Star Wrestling Academy in Laredo. And this last year or so, last couple months, I've been training at the Dogg Pound with Rodney Mack. And I got a few other, coaches and stuff that I've, been part of their group for a little while and done seminars and stuff. But that's where I've been at lately, because you just got to keep moving up. You got to keep upgrading. And what I found as soon as I showed up there was competition that I didn't expect. Right? I do think, I don't know if it's about how many years you've been in or, who you've wrestled or whatnot, but it's one of those things where a lot of guys, even if they're not egotistical, I don't mean this in a negative way, they'll move past that phase in their mind of training, right? Of learning new things. And everyone, again, I've been surrounded by all these good mentors that keep telling me not to do that. Don't fall into that trap. Because a lot of times you think you're good, and then you get into you're a big fish in a little pond situation or something. You get into a bigger pond or bigger lake and you realize it's not true, right? So I've been trying to avoid that trap and always learn and keep progressing. And the Dogg Pound has allowed me to do that thus far.
Awesome. Can you remember back your very first match, who that was against, and what you've learned over the last 4 years that you regret in that first match?
Yeah, I have a weird long answer for that, because I have a couple that are like sort of my first, right? So if we're gonna really go, my first See, I give you like 6 answers if you wanted to, if we have a 3-hour podcast here.
We have time. We have time.
I have my first exhibition match, right? So I hadn't even got to debut in front of a crowd, but we had what we called the Texas Dojo. We had Funaki and a bunch of other coaches come in from around the state that were in the state at the time. And my first exhibition match was with none other than Moonshine Mantell.
Oh, no.
He had just returned to Texas too, and he had trained where I trained. And so I didn't even know he was going to be there that night, let alone I was going to get stuck with him. At the time, hey, I'll be the first to admit it. I was terrified when I found that out in the best possible way, excited as hell, but terrified. So there is, I believe, footage of it somewhere. I don't even want to look at it. Would you want to look at footage of you getting your ass kicked for 10 minutes straight? But that was my first exhibition match. And spoiler alert, I pretty much gave it away. I got my ass kicked pretty good. But I learned a lot from that. And I don't mean to skip ahead so far in our podcast here in this interview, but I'm really looking forward to another chance at Moonshine now that it's been about 4 years.
Oh, that'll come up.
Coming up.
And in that time, the other stuff, the other experiences I've had and the stuff I've learned, I had my first official match then in front of a crowd at a live paying show all the way in New Jersey. So when it comes to paying your dues, I'm not trying to be that guy, the back in my day guy, but in order for me to have my first match ever, I had to drive in a big van with a bunch of smelly wrestlers, 33 hours to get to New Jersey. 2 nights, no sleep in a row, sleeping on the floor in the, grungy little hotel room. And I got to go to a super clinic that they called it at the Monster Factory. So like I was telling you guys earlier, I can give you a long list of other coaches and other schools I've got to sort of jump in at a little bit here and there and learn from, right? So I was up there at the Monster Factory and I earned a spot, thankfully, with the couple of days training before then. They put me in a big match, 6-man tag, something like that. A couple other guys who'd come up from Texas. And so that was my first experience there. And then like all other newbies, I got in a battle royal that night too, because that's the tradition in this business. You got to get thrown into a battle royal when you're first starting. And then I really enjoyed having those 2 matches. Those are the same night, my first official matches, I guess. And then from there, my first one-on-one was right down the road from me. Just weird how the universe works. Right 10 minutes from where I live at the food bank here in San Antonio. We had a big crowd come out. We were raising money, food for the food bank. I was up against another guy who had trained with me at my school here in Texas. And I had all these people come out to support me for my first match ever, right? I mean, talk about passing out flyers and getting your friends and stuff. I printed out shirts already. I paid way more than I could even sell them for. I was losing money on my t-shirts, but I had like 30, 35 people in the crowd with my shirts screaming for me. So excited. My parents were there. My girlfriend was there, gonna kick ass in front of all these people. And 3 minutes in, I headbutted him way too hard, knocked his tooth loose and started bleeding everywhere. And they had to call the match because, we were the opener and you had guys like Moonshine Mantell later that night that don't want to wrestle in a puddle of my blood. So that was my first match.
Alex Arsenal, the shooter.
Oh my goodness. Mike, you got anything?
Yeah, hey, Alex, thanks for coming on. I wanted to ask you, so you well documented your health and fitness transformation over time. You posted about it. I wanted to ask you, what was that process like? Just getting into shape, getting to the place where you're at now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I've just really come around to a point in my life where I really enjoy talking about it, because I think as I started to open up more about it, I realized how many people can relate, first of all, and how people tell me it's, motivating and inspiring and all that stuff, which is part of the job and part of the whole reason to have social media in the first place. So, I mean, I'm happy to fill that role if I can. And I'm happy to help people learn, not just from my triumphs, but probably more importantly, my mistakes, right? My failures. It was a long process for sure. I am not a guy with a long list of things to complain about, for sure. I have had a very blessed life, like I was saying, just within wrestling, but even outside of that, I don't have a lot of things to complain about. But I'll tell you, I do have an arch nemesis. He's a terrible, terrible, horrible, very, very dangerous, capable person, and that is me. I am my worst enemy by far. And I have a long history of being that. And it's something I think a lot of people can relate to as well. And so I was, like I said, I knew as a teenager what I wanted to do with my life. But, becoming a pro wrestler sounds kind of ridiculous, doesn't it? It's kind of hard to do. And I think it was overwhelming. It was intimidating. And I was in the wrong place doing the wrong things. And I was spinning my wheels for sure. So I was in a really, really unhealthy place, physically, mentally. And like I said, I've been blessed with such a good, support group of friends and family and all that. And thankfully I was able to one day just decide like, all right, it's now or never. If I'm going to do this, I gotta get straight. I gotta get moving. I gotta go forward. I gotta give it a shot. I mean, I think it was anxiety and fear over failure, which is stupid because you don't know until you try, right? You gotta take your shot. You gotta shoot your shot. That's what they say, right? So one day I finally decided I was going to drive down to San Antonio. I had a place I could stay for the night. I knew there was a wrestling school here somewhere. I had that information in the back of my head, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. I knew a lot about exercise, even when I wasn't applying it to myself. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go become a personal trainer somewhere. I'm gonna become, financially and physically and emotionally stable and get this foundation going. And I'm gonna find that wrestling school, and I'm gonna show up, and I'm gonna fail miserably or succeed. Either way, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try. And just that part of the story took a few years right there. And like I said, about 4 years ago, I got going, and it was long and it was drawn out, but every day I was just trying to get 1% better. And here we are, 7 years, almost coming up on 7 years since I moved to San Antonio. And if you've seen some of those progress pictures, that's the latest ones have been put up. That's about 7 years. And it is, it's incredible. It's cool to have something that you can just like permanently be proud of. Like nothing, it's already done. It can't be taken away from me, and it's real, and I look back at that. I'm just really proud of making all those changes. Nothing crazy. There's no magic formula. There's, like I said, just one day at a time, trying to get 1% better, drink more water, sleep better, all the tiny little boring stuff. And it adds up eventually. Right. And here we are.
So just to follow up with that, what's your message to somebody that's dealing with those internal battles they're trying to overcome themselves? As you said, somebody, your own person that could kind of set you back. What's your message to them in that situation?
Well, like I said, there's a lot of little things that can help. Whatever it is, I think that you're pursuing in life, I would imagine it applies to almost anything. There's tiny little things here and there. You want to get 1% better at this and this and this every day. But I think probably the biggest thing for me, like I said, was just that fear of failure, which is a logical fallacy. I believe that I may be young and dumb and not know a lot about life, but I think that applies to everyone, is that it really doesn't make sense to sit there and be scared of failure, because if you go out and you try and you do fail, and I have failed at a lot of stuff, it will feel bad, but it will not feel nearly as bad as not trying and having to sit there and wonder for the rest of your life. So you just go, you try. And I mean, I guess it doesn't apply to like jumping out of a plane without a parachute or whatever, because failure there is like kind of a big deal. If you don't know how to operate a parachute, I suppose then you can't come back from that. But in all seriousness, the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? So as long as it's not something that's literally going to kill you, then go out and try and fall on your face and fail. And then you learn from it and you get better, or you figure out, hey, this isn't for me. Let me go fail at something else until I figure out what I am good at or what I do like. So if you're sitting there and you are your own worst enemy, like I am, and you were sabotaging yourself like I was, I think you got to look in the mirror one day or maybe a bunch of days in a row and ask yourself honestly, is this feeling how I feel now? Is this honestly better than if I go and I try and I fail? Probably not. If I go and I try and I fail miserably, that will probably feel better than this. And there's a chance I succeed, and then things are really good. So you just got to get out there and you got to go do it.
Absolutely. And like you had mentioned the progress pictures, we had posted it on our Instagram story, and we had it in our group chat. And I was like, dude, this dude is on Miracle Grow and Flintstone vitamins. I'm like, this man is going insane down here. But yeah, it's really impressive, and it's very commendable to see.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Forrest, what you got?
Yeah, Alex, so I was going to ask you, so we, at last Dog Pound Championship Wrestling, we seen you take on Charlie Haas. I just wanted to know your thoughts on wrestling Haas, and is that the first time you've ever graced the ring with Haas? And if you learned anything? We seen you pick up the win, so.
Yeah. That is the first time I got to wrestle Charlie Haas. That's for darn sure. I grew up watching him on TV, and I've stolen about 1 million things from him in the ring. Don't tell him, don't show him any of the footage. Heck, you can even see it in some of my early matches, just my entrance and stuff. I'm doing stuff he would do, and sometimes subconsciously, right? Just replicate. just trying to be like one of the best that I saw on TV growing up. And then I was fortunate enough to be in a couple locker rooms with him and a couple wrestling shows, but always hanging back and just trying to listen, trying to learn, trying to figure out what's going on. Hadn't even really met the guy and introduced myself. And so that was not only our first night to meet in the ring, but I mean, you saw the moment his fist reached the back of my head. That was our first moment to meet. It was a good first impression. So, yeah, that was a big deal for a lot of reasons, but that being one of them, that I had never got to really meet the guy and talk to the guy, let alone wrestle him. And my thoughts on the match, I can't sometimes wrap my head around how fortunate I've been to be surrounded by the support group that I've had, and no better example than at the Dogg Pound, being welcomed in so much recently, and they've helped me so much, and then given me the opportunity to be in that spot to wrestle in the main event against Charlie Haas. I believe I was gonna avoid this, but we got to get into it. It's a little awkward.
Here we are.
You guys had a poll about who was gonna win,
Yeah.
I believe, and it was something like, I don't know, 99.9% Charlie Haas. I think my mom voted for me. I'm pretty sure
To
my
be
dad.
fair, he had been on the show before, so he had the bias.
Okay, so that was it. All right.
Now you get it now.
Well, I had a long talk with Jazz and Rodney before that match, a couple of days before, and that was one of the things we talked about. Was it was beautiful. I embraced the underdog, and especially in that situation. I embraced that. I liked that. I had a lot of people I was going to prove wrong, and sure enough, it goes without saying. I mean, whether you followed my career or not, you can probably guess as the biggest win of my career by far. I have had some real big matches, and they're sort of in that league, and I'm proud of those matches, but I have not beaten any of those guys yet. I'm always getting, at least, like I said, 1% better every single day. And even, it wasn't just the 99 people voted against me. I'm not gonna lie. I think had I voted, I refrained, but had I voted, I might've voted for him too. I'm not sure I thought I would win either. But yeah, I just went out there that night, like I said, ready to fail miserably if that's what's going to happen, but got to go give it my all and see what happens. And thankfully I was able to pick up that win. And like I said, probably biggest win of my career, which, puts it over the edge. Then officially it's got to be the biggest match of my career. And therefore pretty much the biggest moment of my career. And something that, again, can't be taken away from me no matter what happens today, tomorrow. I'm going to have that forever. It's a very big deal for me.
Exactly. And I got to say, I'm going to speak for myself at least, definitely made me a fan. And I mean, you're on the show, so it did something. So, so before we get into your upcoming match, just one more just standard wrestling question. Do you have I guess a Mount Rushmore of wrestling legends? Who would be on your wrestling Mount Rushmore?
Okay. All time?
All time or current, both, don't matter.
Okay. One small thing I try and avoid when I answer this question is just being so biased towards Texas guys. I can't tell if I'm biased or if it's just Texas has some of most of the greatest of all time. I don't know what's going on there, but I mean, for me, the number one's got to be Eddie. I can't take Eddie Guerrero off the number one spot. He's on my Mount Rushmore, personally. I was fortunate enough to be probably right at like 5 years oldish, 6 years oldish. WCW came to Abilene, Texas, where we were living at the time. And my dad begrudgingly brought me and my two brothers to a show. And this part of the story really does sound kind of made up, especially because I was so young. But I could name 2 or 3 other moments I remember, and some other names, some promos and maybe the main event and what happened. But for whatever reason, it's the opening match with Eddie Guerrero that stuck with me all this time later. I was, like I said, 4 or 5 years old, maybe 6, but I think 4 or 5. And I just could understand the whole story being told in front of me. And I could just tell why I remember why he did everything that he did and what his motives were. And it's just such a larger than life person. And then all that. I mean, I could go on. Right. So when it comes to being a showman and being an in-ring performer, Eddie Guerrero takes it for me and probably always will. Right. So he's the first one. I won't go on as long about the other guys, but again, I'm biased towards, I think a good number 2 has got to be Shawn Michaels. Right. I mean, it would be another Mount Rushmore guy and also a Texas guy for me. Very, very similar explanation there. Just what an incredible in-ring performer and storyteller. right? And both of those guys I've named, someone I could always relate to. I mean, by the time I was certainly in high school and, on the football team, I could tell, okay, I'm not going to be 6'8". Like, I'm not going to be this huge mega heavyweight guy for sure. So these smaller guys, especially at the time, these smaller guys, these cruiserweights, what have you, these were guys I could relate to a lot more. So I really, really liked both those guys. You're going to call me biased towards Texas, but then you got to throw in the Undertaker, right? I mean, when it comes to long-term storytelling, I mean, no one's done it better ever in the whole history of pro wrestling. And just probably the most captivating person you could see on your TV. If you never heard of wrestling or you hate wrestling and you accidentally stumble across it, I don't know how you change the channel when you see him, right? So he's definitely up there, and I could go on for a lot of other reasons there. And if I try and avoid saying other Texas guys, I think
say Stone Cold if you need to.
I'll leave him and Dusty Rhodes and everybody and Terry Funk off for now. And I'll say probably back to the cruiserweight thing I was mentioning in the WCW days. I think Rey Mysterio was someone that always left a huge impact on me, and someone who made me feel like, for obvious reasons, like, okay, if he can do it and he can do it that well, I got to at least have a place in the business somewhere. Not saying I can be him or ever will be, but there's no excuse, right? I can't go based off of not being this 6'8", 500-pound guy. That doesn't disqualify you from being a great pro wrestler. Obviously, Rey Mysterio is proof of that. So, and then, him and Eddie and the matches they would have, like, I could go on, I've watched every single one of their matches ever, like 100 times. And you'll see a lot of the influences that I can bring in. You'll see those in my matches. And so those are my four, if I had to pick.
Awesome.
Fantastic. I guess if one more standard question, like I said, before we get into the show, do you have a dream match, current or just a legend? Doesn't matter. You can speak it into existence. This is your platform.
Oof. Okay. There's a lot for sure. I think one of the risks about, naming like a, big legend or something is someone that's going to be, not available in a couple of years or something. And I don't want to jinx it or anything like that. You're going to claim again that I'm getting ahead or being cheesy here. But right now I got the blinders on. I got someone right in front of me. I got this opportunity against Moonshine Mantell, and he was my first ever match, if we count that exhibition match. And Facebook keeps thinking we're the same person, the facial recognition thing, which, is a compliment. I'll take it for sure. My transformation hasn't quite been that. I'm not quite Moonshine size, but we've been in the same locker room a lot of times, and the guy has always looked out for me and taught me a lot. And I got nothing but respect for him. But man, he's the measuring stick for me. So for right now, I've got a lot of other names I could tell you, but it's almost like I can't think about them. I can't look towards them until I've moved past him, or at least I've had that opportunity to go up against Moonshine.
Fantastic. I guess let's talk about it. Talk about your upcoming match against Ryan Moonshine Mantell.
Okay, November 27th, into Pitt at the historic Woodlawn Gym. Let's start there. This is the first reason why that's such a big deal to me is, again, we're going to go back to, I guess I can't say childhood. I was about 19 or 20, but I sat in the Woodlawn Gym and watched a wrestling show. A lot of guys doubt whether flyers work or not. I'm proof that flyers work. I was just visiting some family in town at the Riverwalk, and someone came up to me with a flyer. It was like, hey, we got wrestling going on tonight at the Woodlawn Gym. I'm like, all right. So they sold 3 tickets right there because we went. And I sat there and I saw a bunch of, legends get in the ring, and some that I've had the chance to be in the ring with myself now, and some I'm still hoping for, and some I've had the chance to learn from. I saw Funaki there that night. I never thought he would, be one of my coaches for a short period of time. I saw Rudy Russo there. Never thought I'd be working so closely with him at Galactic Pro here in San Antonio. But that venue just has that magic, I think, the intimacy, but in the combination of intimacy but size, you can get a lot of people in there. We got a big crowd in there. And usually when you get that bigger and bigger crowd, you lose that grungy Fight Club intimacy, right? You lose that feeling like maybe that the sweat of the wrestlers is going to hit you if you're in the front row, but you don't lose that into Pitt. You don't lose that there, the Woodlawn. So I love that place, and it made a huge mark on me then, because I had already, at that point, like I said, I was at probably the lowest point in my life, and it felt a million miles away. It felt impossible to get there, to be in that ring. And I remember seeing an opening battle royal with all the new guys, right? Because that's the thing. And that was it. I was like, that's my goal. It sounds almost unambitious to aim just for that, but that seemed like impossible. And like I said, a million miles away. And I was like, that's going to be me one day. I'm going to come out. I'm going to get thrown over the top rope right after the bell rings. I'm going to walk back. Mom and dad will be proud. That'll be me one day, baby. And, for whatever reason, the pandemic was a big part of it. A lot of other stuff. I just didn't get the opportunity to wrestle there until you guys saw me against Charlie Haas. That was my first time finally in this place that really is historic for pro wrestling in this city. That's not just a random tagline. It's historic. And that was a big deal. And it should have happened so much sooner. And it was the next, I believe, I don't think I'm making this up. I believe it was like the next match I was going to have before the big shutdown was going to be a match there. Right. And I might've had other couple of opportunities that fell through too. And finally it happened. And I wasn't in the opening battle royal, and I didn't get thrown over the top rope at the beginning. I was in the main event against Charlie freaking Haas. And
you got the win.
And I won. I got my heart raised at the end. I couldn't believe that. But it's not like I'm one and done. It's not like now that I've had that opportunity, I don't want to have it again and again and again and again. I still want to go right back there. Again, that place now is being known as the Pit, right? Where the gladiators come to fight. I want to go in there. I want to prove I'm the best. And I've already told you guys, for me right now, there may be better out there in other people's opinions, but at least here in Texas, for me personally, there's no better measuring stick than moonshine. For me, to see the progress. Because again, you don't know. It's almost like a scientific experiment. We have the control group. We know 4 years ago that I didn't stand a chance, right? We know he cleaned the floor with me, right? We don't know where I would have stood against anybody. Heck, I might have, got lucky and Charlie Haas could have slipped on a banana peel 4 years ago and I would have beat him back then. You never know. Almost certainly not, but you never know. But we do know with moonshine that was not happening that night. Again, I don't know if there's a video out there. I do know deep in my phone and my photos, I do have one picture and it's him we're both wearing like the same shirt. I mean, no wonder Facebook thinks we look alike and like same color clothes. We're not wearing, wrestling gear because it's just this exhibition. We look very similar because it's far enough away. You can't see how much more massive he is. And he's just standing over me, just like a monster, just victorious. And I'm writhing in pain. You can just see me. I'm screaming on the ground and it just looks terrible. And I'm proud of it. I mean, I took it like a man. I got better. I learned from it. And I thought, okay, a couple months, whatever, I'll get another shot at it. But again, maybe it's pandemic, just scheduling, just fate. It's been 4 years. And I'm not saying I have a picture of him on my mirror that I crumple up every morning like Drago, but basically in my mind I do. And so that combination is weird to me that it's gonna be at the Woodlawn Gym. It's gonna be in DePitt, and it's gonna be against Moonshine Mantell, and it's gonna be for Dog Pound Championship Wrestling. This new home of mine I'm trying to represent, to make proud, to prove myself. All these things these stars are sort of lining up almost too much. It's a little bit weird. It's a little bit eerie. But that's what we got in front of us. That's the challenge I have. And again, wrapping around to what I said earlier, it is what it is. If I go out and I fail miserably, that's what I want. I want to know. I want to know where I'm at. And if we see a repeat of 4 years ago and the dude just wipes the floor with me again, okay, here's the problem. He's probably gotten better over 4 years too. So it doesn't matter how much I've upped my game. Maybe he's upped it proportionally as well. We're gonna find out, and I'm super excited because if things do go bad, they don't go my way, then hopefully it won't be another 4 years. But I'm gonna be right back in the gym, right back in the ring, getting ready until I get another chance at him. Right? But I gotta be honest. I've been focusing on him for 4 years. I don't know who he's been focusing on, so I may have a leg up there. I know just about everything he does, and I'm looking forward to changing the result from 4 years ago.
There you go. And I'm just going to tell you, when the match was announced, the whole podcast group chat was split. So,
okay, so 99-1 this time, huh?
Yeah, no, not this time. No, not this time. But I want to kick it to Forrest, who is probably the biggest Moonshine Mantell fan on God's green. I just want to see what you have to say.
Man, I'm really looking forward to it. You really honestly, I'll tell you what earn my respect from the Haas match. So I'm really looking forward to it. I have to go with moonshine though. I'm just gonna tell you now. But I'm looking forward to it.
He couldn't wait until the preview show. He had to say that right
You had to
now.
go ahead and get the prediction out of there.
Yeah, okay. Well, I can respect that. Let me just ask real quick. Who did you between me and Haas? Who did you pick?
Oh, Charlie. I take Haas.
Oh, I don't know how that track record's going there.
I mean,
Forrest already has 3 or 4 wrestlers looking for him, so we can have
yeah, he
Alex.
does. Every review or every preview show, he goes to the show and there's a wrestler. He's like, "Oh, where's Forrest at?" Oh man! But
Buddy, I'm gonna be when I get my hand raised, I'm gonna be looking for you. I'm gonna point right at you.
he'll be. I mean, you are undefeated.
Yeah, that's true.
Mean, you're 1-0, and it's hard to be better than 100% win rate. That's all I'm saying.
That is a real point. I hadn't thought of that. I should be telling people that.
Exactly. I mean, that's a flex that Charlie Haas doesn't have.
That is very true. That's a real.
Oh man! But Mike, you got something?
Yeah, Alex, can you speak to the crowd energy, the atmosphere, how it feels being inside of the pit? You've been there once. You're going back again. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, like I said, I guess I've been there twice if you count as a fan, right? All those years ago. And so I've been on both sides of it, which is really cool. And I just, first as a fan, like I said, I noticed the intimacy of a venue that size. Again, when I say that, if you guys have been to enough, independent wrestling shows, there are these beautiful little moments you find in like a little bar or something where a ring is set up. And it's not going to be this huge crowd, but there's this visceral energy there, right? Because of the intimacy. You are closer to the action and you are more a part of it than you're going to be with anywhere else, with anything else within wrestling, which is incredible because when I try and explain the appeal of pro wrestling to people who aren't fans, that's what I tell them is that you are more a part of it than anything else, right? You are more in there and a part of it while still being generally safe for the most part as a fan than you can be in anything else. Like you can't even get that. You can't get that close to the lion at the zoo. Right. And when you're in a movie and the killer is behind you, behind the hero, and you yell, "Look out behind you," they just kick you out of the movie theater. You're not supposed to be yelling, right? If you had to play, I think it might be even worse, right? If you screw up the dude who's trying to, cut some Shakespeare promo up there. But if you go to a wrestling show and you yell at me to look behind me because someone's got a chair, I'm going to turn around, I'm going to kick them in the face. You are a part of that show. I have been in a situation, right, where the fans started chanting for us to have next month's title match. And we did because they were cheering for it. And I didn't, even as someone who'd been in the business for a while and been a fan my whole life, I hadn't seen something that magical happen. And I've been through so many situations where I know somebody pulled through and got the win because of those kids screaming for him in the front row or whatnot, right? Well, you're going to get that at Woodlawn. As a fan, I noticed it. And then getting to be a wrestler last time and wrestle Charlie Haas, I was right there. We were in the crowd a few times, but we were on the merch table for a moment. I think I might've ruined somebody's merch, got kind of some lucha masks or something got pushed all over the place. I mean, I was fighting for my life. I'm sorry. I'm up against Charlie Haas. I can't take care of you.
You're trying to break my leg. I'm trying to live here.
My bad. But yeah, it is the intimacy is incredible because again, like I said, there's other places I've been that have that little spark, but literally the same company or the same wrestlers or whatever, even the same crowd will be at a new, bigger venue when it does grow. And it just doesn't, it's not the same magic, like it's so easy to lose that. And it's hard to describe, but you can feel it when it's there. And it's because it's so hard to describe and it has to be so natural. It's hard to create as a wrestler, as a promoter, setting up the venue as a venue owner. But with Woodlawn, you get that beautiful combination of such intimacy and such high energy, but then just such a big, large crowd that can get so into it. And all the merchandise tables and all the great food and the bathrooms and stuff beats a lot of the venues I've been in as well. So there's a lot more I could say about that too. It's just such a great place and really is historic for independent wrestling here in San Antonio. And so I'm super excited to be back there again.
Absolutely. And go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, I have to ask too, at the end of the match, when Charlie extends his hand for the handshake, did you really believe he was ready to embrace you? I mean, the same guy that attacks you from the back to start the match.
I know. I'm an idiot, right? I know. Look, first of all, remember that first part of the interview where I said I wasn't so good at math and science and English?
Common sense goes in there.
Okay. I'm not a thinker. No. But you got to cut me some slack. There's a lot of adrenaline going on. And hell, in my mind, I just beat Charlie Haas. Who wouldn't want to shake my hand? I thought,
I would demand for a
Who
second
wouldn't
there.
I guess Charlie Haas wouldn't want to shake my hand. I don't know. I thought maybe I earned his respect. I said it in my promo before our match. I said, I've been watching you my whole life, Charlie. You probably don't know who I am. You probably don't care. And that may have been the case beforehand, but I thought afterwards he definitely knew who the hell I was. And I figured he cared, and he did know, and he did care. I just thought it was more of a positive kind of care. I thought I had maybe earned some respect from him. Apparently not. That's fine. If he wants to go again, all that does is benefit me, and I'm looking forward to it again. If he thinks it was a fluke, then all right, let's make it 2-0.
Oh,
Is that a challenge?
Oh yeah, and that challenge is once.
I mean, what's it gonna hurt? I mean,
There you go.
I can tell you the only thing that's going to be different for sure, is I am going to start the match by looking all around me constantly.
like you were saying, you have heard, like you said, the people are part of the show. I bet you were wishing someone would have said, "Look behind you." But
I went back and watched the footage just to see if maybe I just missed it and I didn't hear someone. No one said it. No one said
no,
it.
Forrest didn't say anything. He was going, "Go, Charlie."
Yeah. I don't know if he paid everybody off or what. I mean, hell, my parents were there. I don't know why they didn't say anything.
Oh, disrespectful.
Whatever. I mean, it happens. You live and you learn.
Absolutely. So we had spoke about Charlie Haas. And one question we like to have for the Dog Pound Championship Wrestling guys is, can you talk about like Rodney Mack and Jazz, just them coaching and teaching professional wrestling?
Yeah. So again, I've been blessed. I've been fortunate with a lot of great coaches. And, the thing is, even with the greatest coach in the world at anything, you still want diversity, right? You want other people. So that was my first incentive there, was just a different change of pace, in and of itself can be really beneficial. I tell you, I learned just an incredible amount every single day I was over in Mexico, because they do everything different than us. So that was every single day was just like starting over fresh and learning all new stuff. I didn't realize I'd have somewhat of a similar experience when I went to the Dog Pound, but the way that Rodney Mack and Jazz, the way they coach is different from a lot of other coaches. They have a very high level of expectation. There's a very high level of, we're entertainers, right? But you got to be a tough son of a gun to hang in the Dog Pound. That's the expectation. You can be whoever you want to be. You just got to be tough. That's the requirement. And that's something I've always wondered about myself. Am I tough enough? Can I hang with these guys? So that was another thing that really drew me in, and I'm something that motivates me almost every night to go in there and prove, I'm tough enough. If I'm not the toughest, I'm at least tough enough to hang. And I really like that, because that's another way you make sure you get better every night. Pain is just weakness leaving the body. So you almost want to go through some pain, right? There's a great combination there too. And you can see it in the Dog Pound Championship Wrestling shows. It's a great combination of new school, old school, current school, whatever just a blend of styles. What if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So there's a lot of stuff that fans really appreciated in 1929 that still works today, like great. But there's a lot of room for improvement on certain things. And so you see a lot of new stuff that shows up in wrestling today that does really well, and people really want to see it, and they pay to see it. And so what you want to look for, I think, as a wrestler, and obviously as a fan going to a show, is you want to look for a combination of these styles and these different elements. And when wrestling is at its best is when it's like this circus in one way, maybe a lot of ways, but one way in particular, which would be that if you don't like the strongmen, here come the clowns. If you don't like the clowns, here come the elephants. If you don't like the elephants, right, here come the trapeze guys, right? You want this blend of styles. And I think these last few Dog Pound Championship Wrestling shows are a great example that you see all these different styles. And so it's very rare you're going to find a coach and a group of coaches, right? They bring in a lot of other people, and that's just the two of them, that can incorporate all these styles and teach you all these styles and make them all work. And Rodney especially has really taken me under his wing, and like I said, always has critique and always has something to make me better, which is what I wanted. And he can be a hard ass just like any good coach, which is exactly, again, what I wanted. But it's always constructive, and it's always long-term. And I think from that whole crew there down to the students is just a lot of love for wrestling and where wrestling is going to go. And that's what's really cool is, you someone can't be in it for the money too much. I don't got enough money to give anyone, right? Well, they're not just in it for the money when they show that they love something that much. And there's a lot of love for wrestling there. So there's a lot of people getting better constantly.
Alex, talking about the dojo, who do you see being their, front hand, that's going to be a superstar that's worked hard and is moving up in the school?
Whew. Man, they got a large crew. Again, I've been to a lot of wrestling schools, and it fluctuates like anything else, but they got so many guys there right now, and so many students that wrestled on the show.
Right.
So many. There's a barrier there, and I think this applies to a lot of other industries too. There's that barrier that to get through to that point. You guys might be surprised how many people drop off, how many people, pay money, how many people show up, how many people make these sacrifices and are there day after day, and then just don't make it through that barrier to actually get to start wrestling on shows and start traveling around. There's a steep fall off there. But at the Dogg Pound, there's a lot of different stuff going on, and I don't know what that magic formula is that's working there, but so many guys have made it through that barrier and have earned their spot in our wrestling. I mean, that Battle Royal last time was pretty incredible. Guys in there, and to see how many of them, not all of them, really look like they belong. You know what I mean? And so that's great. So I don't want to give you a cop-out answer like, oh, I can't pick. There are a lot of ones that I want to pick from. I hate to do it, but I got to say the Misfits, Pac Ortega.
Yeah.
I got to say, I can't just say positive things. So I got to say, whenever I got to say bad stuff too. Whenever I see them in the locker room, if I need their attention, I just say, "Hey, jackass!" And the two of them are the only ones that look up, right? So they know what their reputation is, right? What's going on. But those guys, they got something special going on, and I've seen them put together a lot of great tag team matches these last couple months, and no different. The Dogg Pound Championship Wrestling, I think. Right. That's something that's real elusive a lot of times in wrestling, maybe more in the modern era, is real good tag teams and real good tag team wrestling, right? And so if you're a fan of that, sometimes it's a little rough because it can be a drought. It can be a little tough at some promotions and some companies, and just with wrestling in general. So that's a big deal that those guys are doing so great. And I think they're going to be something to look out for sure.
Deal.
Speaking of Dogg Pound trainees, Haas Holding actually dropped a comment on our Facebook Live video. It says, Alex has great things ahead of him, and you've earned all of the good in life. I'm sure you've had a chance to look at Haas's work, currently undefeated in Dogg Pound Championship Wrestling. Speak to him a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I did all that great Transformation Tuesday stuff. I'm sure I'm motivating, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You want to get really motivated. You look awesome. Because this man is working just about as hard, maybe harder, honestly, than anybody else at the Dogg Pound or anywhere else for that matter. And he's pretty open about it. I don't think I'm spoiling anything or ruining anything when I say he's coming up on the big 6-0. He's getting up there in age, and that would intimidate a lot of people. Like I said, hey, I was in a position where I felt like I couldn't do this. This was too much. It was overwhelming. I'm just going to fail. Not worth trying. Well, there's a lot of people that are in similar scenarios to him that feel that way. And he decided not to feel that way. And he decided to pursue it anyway. And he's doing great. And I love nothing more than just the other day, someone asking, who here's got like cage fighting experience? Someone asked something like that. And Haas said, well, I got bar fighting experience. And he had in his resumes, from 1976 to 1981. That dude can romp and stomp. And,
exactly. Romping and stomping. He's ready.
I mentioned earlier, to bring it back, what worked in 1929 still works today sometimes. And Haas will be the first one to tell you he loves bringing that old school energy to those wrestling matches. So if you don't like your Rey Mysterio wannabes flying around all over the place doing their crazy lucha stuff, then that's fine. Just wait for Haas Holden to come out there, and you're going to see some old school Texas style in your face beatdowns.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we had said, he's undefeated, much like yourself. So, if you both when you both end up leaving undefeated at the next show, you may have to have loser. The loser, loses obviously between you and Haas.
Yeah. That's going to be a big one. I'm looking forward to. Yeah, that's going to happen at some point. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure it happens, and I know he's looking forward to that too. I part of being Alex Arsenal is having everything in my arsenal. I try and adapt to the other person's style, not just counter what they're good at, but adapt to what they are good at, see who's really better. When it comes to romping and stomping, I think he may have an edge, but we're going to find out. And we're going to find out who can really romp and stomp more. And if it's him, then I want to know. I want to find that out. I want to learn from the best at everything, and he might be the best at that. God dang it. So I'm really looking forward to that opportunity.
For sure, for sure. So before we kind of wrap things up, is there anything else you want to actually? I have one more question. So
Okay.
Aaron Presley has a huge announcement coming up at the next show. What are your predictions for that?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that. Like I said, I got my blinders on and I was so focused on my opportunities.
Moonshine, yeah.
Awesome. Now moonshine. And so, the narcissist in me wants to believe, hey, they got another huge, big name guy that I'm going to wrestle. Yeah, that's a big announcement. But I got a feeling it's even bigger than that. I think wrestling is kind of exploding in this streaming era. I think a lot of new stuff is popping up. I think especially companies like Dogg Championship Wrestling and the likes are getting a lot of new opportunities. So I think it's going to be something really, really big. I'm hoping if it is an opportunity for one of us, that I'm at least put in a position to try and earn it, whether I got to be in the opening battle royal or what. If it's a championship belt, I want to be right in the beginning of that tournament or battle royal or whatever it is. I don't know. I don't want to jinx anything, but if I had to guess, I'd say it's going to be some kind of new contract for something, a new championship for something. And I want to be the guy. I want it to be that. I want it to be my doghouse. I want to be top dog. So whatever it is, I hope I'm involved.
Awesome.
Absolutely. My prediction was the Gobbledygooker were going to show up, but it doesn't seem to be a very popular choice.
Yeah, I mean, I'll wrestle him. Yes, you caught me off guard with that one, but I'm a man of my word. I'll take it, I guess.
Take on the turkey. Absolutely.
I don't know if Alex knows, but we have a sign contest also November 27th at the next show.
I saw that. Yeah.
Did you see that? We want the fans to bring their favorite sign or best sign. What could a fan bring that you would be impressed to root you on victory over Moonshine?
I don't know. There's a lot of good ones. I think people have gotten a little carried away in my career with the play on arse with their signs. Tickets are a popular one. If I'm not so beloved in a town, arsehole is a popular sign.
I mean, arsehole,
We've seen
hosshole.
or
Yeah. It can be endearing.
Right.
Yeah. I take it as a compliment. I take it as love. You gotta love something to hate. So there's a lot of great ones. I think one of my ones recently was saw a little kid holding up one that just said Arsenal Army. He had the whole little section of arsonists up there wearing their little Alex Arsenal shirts.
Awesome.
But yeah, something I miss. I'm glad y'all having this competition because it's something I miss from that era where I was a little kid watching wrestling. I mean, as soon as the show would start, right, everybody had a sign. Right, no one behind them could see.
No, but it's fine. Just get front row and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it is.
Oh man, absolutely. Before we end it off, is there anything in particular you want to let the fans of Dogg Pound Championship Wrestling know ahead of the show?
And in addition, where can fans find you on social media?
Yeah, of course. So if anyone out there is interested in like the transformation stuff we're talking about or anything else with social media, I've got Facebook and Instagram right now. On Facebook, you can find me at Alex Arsenal. Pretty simple. On Instagram, it's ALEXX. You gotta have two X's in there, _Arsenal. There's a lot of football fans from England with Arsenal in their name, a lot of soccer fans. So I guess there's a lot of Alex fans of Arsenal. So I had to put two X's in there. And so if you see a lot of British people on my page, that's why, by the way. So yeah, you got me there. You can find my schedule and upcoming events on either one of those and all my recent posts. And something you're going to be seeing a lot of coming up this month. There's already a promo up. You're going to see a lot of posts about this opportunity I got coming up against Moonshine Mantel. I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier. This is the new biggest match of my career, in my opinion, because for me personally, there's a lot of, I don't know what the word is, sentimental value. There's a lot of personal emotions attached to this match and this opportunity between being in DePitt at the Woodlawn and going up against Moonshine. every match should probably be viewed as my biggest match, right? But this one's a big one for me, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how I stack up. And I think if you want to see some Texas style in your face, romping and stomping, to steal a little bit from Haas, I think you're going to see a lot of that on that night. But I can pretty much guarantee you're going to see a lot of that between me and Moonshine.
Absolutely. And with that, we are going to end our episode. Thank you so much for Alex Arsenal for joining the show. Thank you, everyone on Facebook, and thank you to everyone watching on YouTube. We will catch you guys in the next episode of Pack Podcast. Peace. In a moment.